Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Public Health Hour. This is Patty Crooker hosting today. Bobby Bagley's out of town. Wish her safe travels. But glad to be here today. The weather's been a little bit cool the last few days. Hopefully it's not a trick like it was a couple weeks ago. Then it got hot again. But I'm very excited. We're joined here today with a couple friends of ours from RevoerYdia, TJ and Matt. Good morning. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about what RevoerYdia is and does?
RevoerYdia is recovery media. So we basically use digital media and events to propagate the idea that the opposite of addiction and the opposite of suicide is connection. So we're messengers, and we have technology architecture around it to deliver the message.
Yeah. So most people might remember us from the most recent thing that we did, which was the 10,000 Candles for New Hampshire event. And we use a collaboration of events and storytelling, sharing narratives, recovery narratives of individuals who have turned their mess into their message, turned tragedy into triumph as a way to promote meaningful human connection.
Awesome. And that 10,000 Candles event was amazing.
Oh,
kudos, guys. I know I've heard a lot of great feedback about it. We talked the week after about the event on our show. So some of our listeners may have heard about it a little bit before. And so in Nashua, I know there was a great turnout. And can you tell us a little bit about what that event did, where it was held, and then what sort of come off of that event?
Right. So the event was held simultaneously across 6 communities in New Hampshire: Dover, Derry, Manchester, Nashua, Keene, and
Concord.
That's right. Thank you. We're adding 4 cities next year. But anyway, it was an opportunity. We got 33 speakers together and a community of outreach for both the mental health and recovery fields. So people came together and shared. We stood together, lit candles, and shared our grief as a means of saying, hey, you know what, this is we know we've been through a lot. Everybody's been touched and impacted by these issues, and we're not shying away from them. But it's time to talk about, how New Hampshire is going to walk through this together.
Amazing. And it ties in well with some of the things that we've been talking about on the show and focusing on from the public health department and public health region. And that's the issues of adverse childhood experiences and trauma-informed communities, and how one of the most important things for kids and for adults is having one person that they can trust and that listens to them and that's there for them, and really pushing that idea of connection, being connected with each other and with our communities. So it's something that we feel very strongly about and are trying to encourage others to see the huge value in.
A lot of our the research that we've done leading up to this event was around isolation and disconnection, and really getting a strong understanding of how all of these factors, they all kind of play into these conditions that we're seeing pop up. People that are suffering from addiction, that are suffering from other behavioral health issues. And when you talk about adverse childhood experiences, obviously the research is in that so much of that kind of goes back to early childhood development and how people process those issues at a young age. So when we look at how people are experiencing those issues and how they may develop conditions later in life, what we're finding is that these stories, these recovery narratives, they have a great deal of therapeutic value. They have the power to help people heal. When they hear their story being told by somebody else, it creates a transmission line that may not have existed before, because oftentimes people are isolating. They're isolating right here in an urban setting like Nashua, and they're isolating in rural settings like, the North Country of New Hampshire and beyond, all throughout the world. So our long-term goal here is to share these stories, build a platform similar to think of like a Netflix for recovery, where somebody can go and they can find their story, whether they're struggling with PTSD or addiction or childhood trauma, or, you name it, insert whatever the issue may be. There's somebody out there who has had a story and is in recovery, is recovering from that, and is carrying the message forward, helping others, using their tragedy to help pay it forward to other people.
That's great. And
Yeah.
letting them know they're not alone.
Right. Exactly.
Letting them know that they're not alone. And if you're either ashamed, or you've got stigma in the picture, or you're somehow apprehensive about getting the help you need, we see 400 recovery narratives in an easily accessible, easily navigable, Netflix-like interface will enable you to get closer to recovery without having to take the giant step of showing up in person. So it's got kind of a beginning step, training wheels for recovery. And then in addition to that, it's back to the back end, gives us like a social networking timeline platform where people who are recovered, people who are further down the road in the journey, will engage with people who are just beginning the journey, and we're just going to promote engagement on both ends. And so we build a community in the middle, and the community is an authentic community. There's no ulterior motive. We're not driving a community so that we can find folks that we can position for clinical trials, or we're not trying to find people who we can bring into the medical field as clients. We're doing this strictly because people need people. Then that's why we're doing it as a nonprofit.
Right. And I was going to say, that's one of the things we talked about before. It's not for a moneymaker. It's not like a pay for service.
Right. There's no
It's just-
advertising model.
Right.
Your privacy is safe with us. You will have an opportunity you'll have an opportunity to be on the platform where you're not being advertised to, and your data is not being, your footprint's not being pulled off and sold to marketers.
Great. Because we all know how fun that is.
Right. These are the issues of our times, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially, when it comes to data and technology, that authenticity, getting people to share their story with us, getting people to open up and really be their honest self, and dig deep to really, share that pain that maybe they had suffered with. There can't be a price tag that comes along with that. There can't be a hustle or any quid pro quo. It needs to be a very authentic, non-commercial thing. So it's very important to us.
Yeah, and as we analyze and look back about all the great coverage that the event got, I mean, the event got covered by every major paper in the state, some multiple times. NHPR covered us. Of course, WMUR, but there were a lot of reporters and editorial groups who got involved and published about the event, and the quotes were all really warm and accurate. Everything really worked out well. I've never been involved with a media campaign like that before, and we discovered at the end it must be because we're a couple guys who drive Uber and Lyft and decided this was something that needed to be done, and our only motive was to bring people of New Hampshire together, to recognize their pain and struggle, and to recognize that we can walk through this together. And that made it authentic, and I think that's what galvanized support.
That's great. And we're so happy to have you guys here on the Public Health Hour again. This is Patty Crooker with Matt and TJ from RevoerYdia. So I have two more questions to ask you.
Sure.
So one, can you guys share, aside from the media coverage piece, something that has been like a big aha moment, or something great that you've taken from the work that you've done over this past year?
Yeah.
Pop quiz.
Yeah. So
question.
this transmission line that Matt was talking about, that opens up between people who have walked a path of recovery, whether it's, from trauma or addiction, that communication, that transmission line that gets opened up between them and those who are still struggling and suffering, it's for real. It's not, we've talked about it and people think about it, but to watch it in action is something that's extremely moving, and it gives me purpose. It really gets me up out of bed in the morning to continue to see how far we can take that concept and that type of relationship between people.
Yeah, great point. I think the transmission line is key. For me, I think the biggest aha moment over the past 18 months since we started doing this, I came from a corporate tech world, I had no experience in healthcare, behavioral health, recovery. I'm not a person that's in long-term recovery, but I am a person who wanted to try to make a difference. And the path that I just kind of got led me here. And what I've realized over the past 18 months is that this affects everyone. I mean, really, we say that all the time, but I've seen it, I've experienced it now firsthand, and I've seen that this affects literally everyone from every walk of life. And what's really powerful for me is that I've seen that when I change and when I focus on others and try to help to make a difference, when I do this work, this service work, that permeates out to other people that I know, that they may not have ever realized how much this affects everyone. People tend to, ants marching, right? We just kind of put on our blinders and go about our day to day, and we get caught in these just cycles and patterns that we go through. Sometimes when you take a step back and you really look at the bigger picture, you start to realize, like, wow, there are things here that I can actually make an impact on, and I can make an impact by just changing something that I do, not necessarily trying to make other people change what they're doing, but just changing what I do can actually help other people change for the better. And that has been just an incredible change for me in my life.
It's like, could you imagine living in a world where everybody agrees that our primary purpose in life is to reach out and help the next person?
Be a pretty cool place.
It'd be a
It
pretty
absolutely
cool
would.
place.
And to see that that connection happening, especially at the event, and when you see that connection happen from somebody that maybe hasn't told their story, but listening to someone else who has, and seeing how that affects them and transforms them, even at that moment, is amazing.
Yeah, my parents were at the event in Nashua. They came out to support, and my mom, she was blown away. She had never heard anything like that. She'd never experienced, hearing somebody share their story, their recovery story, and it was incredibly moving for her, and it inspired her to go out and reach a hand out and help the next sick and suffering person. That right there is what it's all about.
It is. They say hurt people hurt people. Well, healed people heal people.
I like that.
Yeah, amen to that.
So what are you guys looking forward to now? What's coming down the road for you?
Yeah. Well, we have a goal. In 12 months, we want to produce 200 4 to 6 minute recovery narratives across 12 different categories that include, vets, of course, and first responders, but people suffering from trauma, depression, anxiety, addiction, alcoholism, and some others that are not popping into my head right now. But so we have to produce this media, and then we need to implement in an on-demand media platform, and then we have to integrate it with the social network. So we've got at first, in order to get the whole thing off the ground, we have to raise some money. So if you're listening today and you want to get involved with a project and you perhaps have some philanthropic money energy, definitely get in touch with RevoerYdia, and we'll make great things happen together. Thank you.
Yeah, we're looking at putting a crowdfunding campaign together, and we're applying for grants and things of that nature. So really, the money energy is what's going to help us make this a reality. But one way or another, we're committed to it. So we're going to follow through. And if it takes us 10 years to do it, it takes us 10 years to do it. But we really truly believe in this mission, and we know that we're doing important work. So we're honored to be here to talk to you about it, share our vision with your listeners. And we thank you very much.
Awesome. We thank you very much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming down today.
Yeah.
Definitely keep us updated, because public health's one of your cheerleaders. We'll push out any information you want us to.
You guys have been awesome.
Push out
Yeah.
information about recruiting people for their stories,
That would be great.
and whatever else we can help with.
Sounds good.
We
So-
appreciate your help.
All
We
right.
appreciate you, Patty.
Thanks, guys.
appreciate you,
love you.
Patty.
I know
We
it's
love
always
you.
such a love fest on this show with me. We joke about it all the time. So thank you. Have a good
course.
day. We're
Yeah.
going to have our friends from the community health program come in next. And while they're transitioning out, I just
Thanks.
wanted to let folks know that the mayor's office and public health are sponsoring a training called The Power of Connection. It's an introduction to suicide awareness and suicide prevention. It's on October 21st at Nashua City Hall. And let me make sure I don't get it right. It's to learn the signs and know the resources. It'll be from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. The event is posted on Facebook, and you could also call the division at 589-4560 to get more information. In addition, we also wanted to remind folks that the DEA drug take-back event will be held on October 26th. That's for anybody that has prescription medications that can not be thrown away. It's to help people get rid of those medications so they're not in homes, they're not able to get into the wrong hands, and you are not disposing of them incorrectly, so they'll go into our environment as well. So again, call your local police department if you want information about that, or you can check our Facebook at Division of Public Health and Community Services or Greater Nashua Public Health Network. We'd be able to, we'll be posting information about that. And I think that's it as far as updates. So now we have some of our friends from the Community Health Department here down at the Division of Public Health and Community Services on Mulberry Street. We have Jessica Ayala and Trisha Glastetter. I didn't want to pronounce it wrong, so instead I just went,
That's all right.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
Happy
morning.
Friday.
Welcome to the Public Health Hour. Jessica has been here this week and last, so she's in.
Yes, I can't get enough. It's so fun.
She's a pro.
And Luis Perez is here as well. He's getting everybody set up. So, ladies, how's your day going so far?
Mine's going very well. I was in clinic this morning, here today.
Lean forward.
Lean forward.
There
Sorry.
you go.
Woo.
I like your voices. Sounds so good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think what you guys are here to talk about today is lead poisoning and lead poisoning prevention month or week, which you said was October 20th to 26th.
Correct.
So you want us to tell us a little bit about what is lead poisoning, first of all?
So lead poisoning is poisoning with lead. So when a child ingests or breathes in lead dust, it's not a natural product in the body, and it poisons them in ways that we can't necessarily see. Could be shown in behavioral issues, hearing, speech impediments or delays, other developmental delays. Sorry. Behavioral issues, aggression can be seen. Sometimes there's no signs at all. So the one way that we are looking to have to increase awareness is the new lead law that passed last year in 2018, which requires testing at 1 and 2 years old. They can be tested beyond that as well, especially if they have if there's risk factors in their home. But 1 and 2, they're tested at their provider or with us, and if their level shows beyond 3 micrograms per deciliter, we send them out a letter informing parents what they can do to decrease the lead in their body, decrease risks in their home or in their environment. If their level is higher than a 7.5, we would do a home visit, but we provide a lot of education on how to get that lead out of their body.
Sure. And what are the sources of exposure for somebody that's at risk or has lead poisoning? What things would you ask them to look for within their home?
So the biggest risk is lead paint. So 1978, lead paint was banned in the United States. Excuse me. We all have that scratchy throat this morning. It was banned in 1978 in the United States, but of course there's still lead paint in our homes and a lot of Nashua. So it tends to chip away, and the dust gets on everything: toys, windowsills, floors. And if you have a 1-year-old or younger crawling on the floor, children that pull themselves up on the windowsills, they're getting that lead dust that you might not be able to see on their hands and their mouths.
And chewing on everything around.
Chewing on everything, yes.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Jess and I were talking about last week with Lewis, is that, Nashua is one of the high-risk communities within the state of New Hampshire, because of the fact that we have such old housing stock. There's so much housing that's been built before 78 or before 1950. So there is that risk, and not just for exposure on the day-to-day, but exposure if there's any renovations or maintenance being done within those homes.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And there is help if they have to go that far, after, like a nurse goes into the home, does their assessment, and then brings in our HUD department. There is funding available up to so much for people to be able to abate their house and get rid of the lead.
Yeah. And that HUD is Housing and Urban Development. So for folks within the city of Nashua, the Community Development Department has that HUD grant for lead abatement. And then for the rest of our public health region outside of Nashua, they would utilize the HUD program through the state Healthy Homes program, which is in Concord.
Right.
But just want to make sure people know that if it's something that they're facing or want more information about, although the city of Nashua only serves Nashua with that HUD funding, the abatement money is available outside through the state's Healthy Homes program.
Right.
And what about some of the other things that have changed? I know we've been working on a parallel project, which is the Leading Education Awareness Against Lead campaign, which Jessica Hillman from our Community Services Department and I have been leading. But she's done a ton of work with that and a community of action on lead, where we're trying to educate providers of both healthcare and childcare to let them know what the new lead laws are. And then a campaign for general public awareness for parents, guardians, family, friends, to let them know that their kids should be getting lead tested and that they can ask the doctor for that and how it's covered and just some general questions. So aside from the paint, I know water was one of the big concerns about people getting increased lead levels. And part of the law that went into place, or the new legislation that went into place, is that all of the schools have to have their water sources tested. So I know Nashua's completely done.
Right.
And last I heard, they were at a pretty good rate of compliance with the other schools within the region.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that impact on the schools and on childcare with that law, or some of the things that they can do?
So Nashua does not necessarily have any lead in the water. Right. So the water itself is not an issue. It could be the faucet itself, the pipes, the solder in the pipes.
Right. Yeah. And they were all checked. So I know that they're all clear.
Yeah.
So, do you guys work at all with childcare providers? I know you do education.
Yeah, we do.
Providers.
We are actually scheduled for our first childcare presentation for parents around lead testing and the effects of lead testing.
Awesome.
In November at the Chapel School Preschool in Nashua. So, Trish and so forth will be educating the parents just so we're really taking, in conjunction with the Community of Action and, the program you just mentioned with Jessica Hillman, we're taking, in conjunction with that, is reaching out to the community partners and parents and really educating them so that they can bring this, issue or topic to their provider or to just something to talk within the community so they can, the parents can take more of the proactive action. So we are, working with the community partners. We have Boys and Girls Club that we'll be going to as well in November. That would be November 20th for the Kids Club, providing education for parents as well around lead testing and the effects, and really getting the community to start talking about it more amongst each other in hopes that we can increase the lead testing within greater Nashua Public Health Region.
That's great. And I know one of the things you guys are doing too is to educate the community, the childcare providers, about what their regulations are. So they need to do water testing as well. And there are some other things that they have to make sure are taken care of on a certain repeating basis. So I think they've had to do them for this year and then have to do it every 2 years out in certain circumstances and 5 years out in other circumstances. So that's super. And we have some great materials that we are pushing out within the community. So if folks see them up take note. There's some tear off pads with information. We are holding various events around. We will be holding a conference on lead on April 1st. How can I forget? It's April Fool's Day. And I always think for a minute. On April 1st, 2020. And we're in the middle of planning that right now. So if any one of our listeners is listening and interested in getting information for either their organization or an organization or other group that they participate in, such as faith homes, churches, things of that nature, you can get in touch with the division again at 589-4560 to get those materials out. And also if people wanted to request any speakers to have some education shared with the individuals they serve or the groups that they're part of. So that's it.
Can I mention a few things that parents can do?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if they do get a letter from us saying their child has an elevated blood level, there's a few things mentioned in the letter that they can do to help get that lead out of the body. So nutrition is one of the biggest factors. Iron-rich foods, calcium-rich foods help the body release that lead. So your dairy products, if you don't eat meat, tofu is a great one. Lentils, higher in iron.
Spinach. Right?
Spinach, yes, your green leafy vegetables.
I was super excited to hear all that because it's not one of the things before this lead campaign. I hadn't done a lot of work in lead. And I love that there are ways that just changing your diet or including things in your diet can help.
Correct. And to help the body absorb iron, you want to have vitamin C rich foods as well. Orange juice can be one, the grapefruit, oranges. WIC is a great resource for our families. So our children, typically the children we see are, 1, 2, 3-year-olds. They can approach, we can give them a referral for WIC and see if they're eligible for that. That'll help them with the food sources.
And an awesome thing that's been going on too is a lot of our food pantries and food access programs within the region have been able to partner to have a lot of fresh fruit available, including the farmers market, which does accept SNAP benefits. So those are typically previously known as food stamps. But also sometimes when you go to WIC, they have other foods that you're able to have access to. So there are ways for folks to have access to those fresh fruits and vegetables to an extent. And I know that the Greater Nashua Food Council is working on some ways to be able to more effectively share that information using an app. And when that launches, we'll have Jessica Gordon on to talk about it. But it's another exciting way for people to combat food insecurity.
Right.
So besides nutrition, what else would you want to let parents know?
So a few things around the home. If they do know that there's lead in the home and dust, often you're seeing it in high friction areas, doorways, so the door opening and closing, windowsills with the windows going up and down. So getting rid of that dust with wet mopping or wet rags to get rid of it. You can put down duct tape if the paint is really peeling. Of course, if you're in Nashua, the HUD program, if you're eligible for the HUD program to help abate the home.
And I know if they're hiring a contractor, they should get somebody that's certified in
lead.
It's a lead remediation.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's like an
RRP.
Thank you.
Yes.
RRP. I would love to tell you what that acronym stands for, but I don't remember right now. But it's available on our website. We do have that information. It's one of the things with the community action for lead that we're considering as being one of the initiatives we move forward on is holding some of those courses. So where can people get tested for lead, get their blood lead levels tested?
They can get tested with us. That would be a capillary test. So it's a finger prick. Not the funnest thing to do with a 1 or 2-year-old, but it's a very minimal amount of blood. With their providers, we do recommend a venous test. That's the most accurate test, is a venous test. So if they had an elevated capillary, they would have to have a follow-up venous anyway.
And that's just where they draw blood. Like
that's
at
where
the
they
lab.
draw blood right out of the arm. So their providers, Lamprey is a great place. They give us, they're really on top of it. Give a little plug for Lamprey.
And all pediatricians are required to
Correct.
do this testing or to refer people for this testing. So people can contact their pediatrician.
Yes.
or if they don't have or between pediatricians, they can contact the division
Yes.
or a pediatrician's office, and that
Yes.
might help them get connected.
Yes.
Right. And even if you're pregnant as well, right, Trish?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's not a law
Mhm.
that pregnant women be tested. We are seeing that in utero, lead can be passed on to the fetus, especially during the second trimester, because lead acts like calcium in the body. So when mom is giving calcium to the baby, if she is lead poisoned, if she has lead in her bones, even as a child, if she was poisoned, she would pass it on to the fetus.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So she can request it through her provider if she wanted to be tested. It'll only show recent exposure. though.
Okay.
So
That's why you have to love the public health hour. You
Yes,
learn all
I
these
know,
things.
because
Yes.
I'm like, I know.
Yes.
I believe pregnant women can get
And then I know secondhand, we were
Not a lot.
talking about people who parents or caregivers or family members, household members who work in construction,
right.
who may work around firearms,
Mhm.
correct.
or other positions where they may be exposed to lead. Need to keep that in mind, that they can carry that to their homes and it can impact their kids because they can ingest that way.
So one things we do recommend if somebody does work in construction or with soil, lead is found in soil, especially if it's been renovations, construction along the side of the road. Take your shoes off before you go into your home. That's one easy way to prevent bringing lead into the home, because it could be on the bottom of mom or dad or grandpa's feet. Leave the shoes at the door. That's
How
just
about
one easy.
spices? Can
So yeah, spices, certain ethnic spices, we have seen seen lead in certain spices, especially brighter colored spices. Lead is very heavy. So it's very heavy. So when somebody purchases a spice, they're paying by weight in certain places.
Oh, so it might be added.
Added for weight. Turmeric is one, not turmeric you buy here in the United States, but certain ethnic markets.
And I know that some toys and things that are made outside of the United States that don't have regulations on lead. So if you're looking at things and buying them or buying them online, make sure you read that, because usually there is some sort of disclaimer that it comes from someplace that may use lead in some of the materials that they make.
And older pottery, if the children are using pottery from grandparents, or, it's been passed down from one generation to another generation, and the child's using it to make tea, playing with it, that can often contain lead as well.
Right. That's all fabulous information to know. As I said, we do have a lot of information on our website, www.nashuanh.gov. You can go to Public Health and Community Services. There's information pages specifically for lead, as well as under Community Development. We link to their page for lead remediation. One of the other things that I wanted to talk to you ladies about while you're here is the flu. So I'm blessed this week with having not the flu, but I have pneumonia. My 7-year-old has pneumonia. He likes it when I tell him that I mentioned him on the radio. He can never hear
Well,
it.
you have to say his name.
Deontay.
Hi, Deontay.
So we both have pneumonia and have been out this week. So although, flu and pneumonia aren't linked together, it's one of those things to keep in mind that there is
a little bit.
Great, Tricia. Now I'm going to stop.
we'll get the nurse's perspective.
Well, I'll get the information on that. But it's good because a lot of the things that you can do to keep yourself healthy and prevent getting sick are the same, because they're respiratory illnesses.
Right.
So can you tell us what, with the flu versus pneumonia, and how they are related?
All respiratory, as you mentioned. So if your respiratory system is already depleted from one or the other, you are at higher risk of getting another one, any other respiratory issue.
That makes sense.
Get that flu vaccine. We're out there vaccinating the
He got his
entire
flu-
Greater Nashua Public Health region.
He got his flu shot before he was, the day before he started getting sicker.
Oh.
So I was like, maybe he's just faking it.
Yeah.
But
So the flu shot does not make you sick. as
Absolutely.
Some people believe it is not a live vaccine. I'm going to let Jessica talk a little bit about where we've been going.
I always have that in my head. I'm like, it's a live vaccine.
No, it is
No.
not. No.
He wishes
Nurses are
it
like,
was.
no, Jess.
He
No.
wishes
It's
it was
not.
because when they did the flu
That's a little different.
flu mist,
Yes.
I said Flonase, that's allergy med, but then it was partially live, it was activated.
So, right.
But they don't use the flu mist anymore, which is the nasal spray, like I said, which a lot of kids are bummed about. But
Right.
So
if it's not,
we don't have it available in our schools. It is available for people that absolutely cannot have the
Right.
vaccine. But that's a little
Not
different.
a
That's a
choice.
different topic.
yeah, that's
Yes.
if they're allergic to eggs or have had adverse
Completely different.
reactions in the past. So it's not generally available unless you need it.
And in regards to the egg allergy, it's you have to have a severe allergy to eggs to not be able to get that flu vaccine. If you just have maybe hives, something like that, we wouldn't vaccinate you in the school, but in our clinic we could do it, so we could watch you. But it would have to be an anaphylactic reaction to eggs to not be able to get that vaccine.
So why is it important for people to get their flu shots?
Why isn't it important? We've already had confirmed cases of the flu this year. The flu can be deadly if your immune system is already at risk. That's one thing. You're also protecting everybody around you that maybe can't get the flu vaccine. I have little reason why not to get it.
So like if you're around kids that may not be vaccinated, if you're around populations that have immunodeficiency
Correct.
issues, or whether it's a disease-based or if it's treatment-based, so people that are on chemotherapy and
Correct.
things like that.
Yeah.
If you're around our older, more experienced in life folks, I like to say, instead of senior. When people with more living experience than us, people can get a very bad case of the flu in those circumstances that can kill them.
Correct.
And we're talking over 55, 60,000 people a year in the United States die from the flu. So it's important to keep in mind that if you're healthy, you want to stay healthy, but you also are helping the people that can't get vaccinated. And there is the chance that people can get the flu even if they're vaccinated. So you're helping them to make sure that they can keep living and not get seriously ill.
Right.
Right.
And it is one of those vaccines you need to get every year. This is the time of year that's most important to get it, but you can get it anytime between, I think, September and even as late as June. Usually people stop getting them around April, but people still come in as late as April to get them. But right now would be the time you really want to get that vaccine. We're coming up on the season where flu is out there. So
And I know if people get them early, then you might tend to have, you say, but for the most protection, it's within the 10 months after, 8 months after. So maybe.
it it
it
wanes a
starts
little bit.
waning.
Yeah, towards the end. Correct.
So where can people get their flu shots?
18
Well,
Mulberry Street.
Yes. During immunization clinics,
Correct.
which is
Tuesday evenings between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. and Friday mornings between 8:30 and 10:30 a.m.
yes.
You can even come in Thursday evenings during our STD clinic. We will give you a flu shot even during that period, and that is between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m.
Yeah, and we're also giving there's some public events that are coming up in October and November where we are providing flu vaccines on our mobile clinic. So upcoming this weekend on Saturday the 12th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we will be at the Wilton Community Center Safety Day at the Wilton Fire Station. That's 102 Main Street in Wilton, New Hampshire. We also have the Rotary event at the Duck Race. That's the Duck Race on Saturday the 19th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That will be right here downtown Main Street on the bridge. We will have our mobile clinic providing the flu vaccine, but also the Hep A vaccine. And also we have our public libraries that we partnered up with this flu season in the greater Nashua Public Health Region. So on November 2nd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we will be at the Brookline Public Library on 16 Main Street in Brookline. And on November 4th, we'll be at the Rogers Memorial Library at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and that's at 194 Dairy Road in Hudson, New Hampshire. And on November 6th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., we will be at the Mason Library in Mason, New Hampshire, and that is on 16 Darling Hill Road. And on November 6th as well, we will be at the Merrimack Library from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And that's on 470 Daniel Webster Highway, Merrimack, New Hampshire. And also the November 12th, we will be at the Amherst Library in Amherst, New Hampshire from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And the Amherst Library is on 14 Main Street. And also November 13th, and 11/13, November 13th, and December 11th, we will be at the Nashua Public Library on 2 Court Street from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. And all of these, we will continue to update the public events as they come along and we get more, as well as additional public flu clinics on our website that you mentioned, Patty.
Yeah, absolutely. So www.nashuanh.gov and just click on Division of Public Health and Community Services.
We're also in all our Nashua public schools as well. We've been going through them.
Yes.
Every day.
Are those clinics going well?
Very well. Oh my goodness. The kids have been fantastic.
Yeah, we've helped work at some of them, so it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun to go. And I used to run into some of the kids.
Running very, very smoothly. It's been a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from flu vaccines, what else can you tell people about keeping themselves healthy during flu season?
Wash your hands.
Oh, I was going to say that. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Simple as washing your hands.
Cover your cough.
Yeah.
Cough into your elbow.
And if you're sick,
don't go to work.
Yes.
Sorry,
Don't go to
everybody
work.
out there. Don't go to work if you're sick.
You don't want to get everybody else sick.
Mhm.
It's like a tidal wave when it happens in our office.
It is.
I remember last year there's been groups of, all of a sudden 7 people
Yes.
have gotten whatever is going around, whether it be the flu or.
We work in
Just
close quarters.
Yeah.
So yes.
And keep that in mind, and if you're concerned about other people being sick at your work, you could always opt to wear a surgical mask.
You can.
Especially
that's
if you're in
true.
an office and, it might just make you feel a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So people do it all the time while traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something. Wash your hands. If you don't have water and soap available, you can use sanitizer. It's at least 30% alcohol. It's 30% tea with alcohol in it.
Mhm.
And just try to make sure you're not hanging out around sick people.
Mm-hmm.
And also your diet. Keep yourself healthy with activities, with healthy eating, because that helps your immune system. So
Mhm.
it helps you stay healthy,
Yes.
even if you are exposed to germs.
Yes.
So is there anything else that you guys wanted to share before we head out and let Mr. Porras talk a bit to our Spanish listeners? Any upcoming events that you can think of?
I believe, no, that's it.
You mentioned a lot.
I did mention a lot.
Yep.
But we will, like I said, I'm just working with our community partners and trying to partner up in the greater Nashua Public Health region, both from, lead and everything else we do. And it's great to have the mobile van clinic. So we're able to go to areas that are further out, like Wilton and Milford, and Hudson, to help out in that area and provide our services there. So that's been very helpful for us.
Right. So folks, if any of our listeners or any of the organizations or individuals that are listening are interested in finding out more about what is offered by our community health department, they can cover flu vaccine, flu clinics, hepatitis A. There's still a current outbreak going on in the state of New Hampshire. They have STD, HIV clinics, and also do hepatitis C and other immunizations for folks that need them.
Mhm.
So thank you both for coming.
Thank you, Patty.
Great to have you on. Great first time, Tricia.
Yes,
Thank you.
success.
It's been great.
You didn't make me cry.
No. And what I'm going to do now
fun.
is we're going to have Louis pop in here. And Louis Porras from Community Health is going to be able to tell our Spanish listeners a little bit about some of the items that we talked about today. How are you doing, Louis?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me again on this Very beautiful morning, cold, and still sunlight there. So I'm happy to be here and be able to share information with the Spanish-speaking people out there that I can hope they can benefit from all the information that we have to share.
What have you been doing this week, Louis?
Oh my God, I've been very busy. You know, we have a lot of activities that the city of Nashua is conducting in different parts of the city. Like yesterday, you know, I was at one of the schools here in Nashua providing flu immunizations to those that want to get the flu vaccine. So not only that, but we do have a lot of activities that are taking place in different parts of Nashua. We're conducting outreach. We're doing a lot of immunization clinics outside the school system as well, and all of those activities taking place. Right after I leave here, I had to go to the community center on Arlington Street and talk about the, you know, HIV, Hep C, and a little bit about the SANA program. But yeah, it's a pretty busy day for us.
So SANA is our student service program here in Nashua, in Greater Nashua.
Yes.
So, Louis, how does outreach change now that it's getting cold?
Oh my God, it definitely changes big time because, you know, even the population, you know, they might not be hanging out outside as much as they do when it's beautiful hot days, but the average goes along with them. Believe it or not, a lot of times I have to go in the, you know, bus transportation and move from place to place. I'm glad that now I have the average van that we use. So it helps me not to be walking as much as I used to when I don't have a vehicle. But yes, I move along where they are and try to reach them where they are and bring the services to them. So it is very excited and to be outside. I like to enjoy that much.
There's something, it's very beautiful in fall.
Oh, yes,
So,
indeed, yes.
At least until it gets too cold that you freeze. We want to make sure you're staying warm.
Yes, I always do. And the city is always very nice in providing, you know, jackets, winter jackets and all of that.
We'll bundle you up, but you still have to go out there.
My boots, my winter jackets and all of that is, you know, given to me so I can be very nice, comfortable doing my activities.
Don't want you getting frostbite.
Yes.
All right. So why don't I let you talk to our Spanish audience and take it away.
Yes, thank you very much, Patty. Buenos días a toda la comunidad audiente que habla español. Fue mucha información la que compartimos hoy, el día de hoy. Mi nombre es Luis Porres y yo trabajo para la ciudad de Nashua. Este mes es el mes de prevención. So, en lo que nos concentramos hablando bastante hoy fue acerca de la prevención, acerca del envenenamiento de plomo, lead poisoning en inglés, ¿verdad? Pero el envenenamiento por plomo es muy importante para nosotros y es bueno que toda la audiencia afuera sepa que la ciudad de Nashua tiene 2 clínicas en las cuales puede hacer pruebas de plomo a niños menores de 6 años. Es bien importante que los niños se les haga la prueba de plomo a 1 año y a 2 años de edad. Y les voy a hablar un poquitito acerca de qué es el plomo y por qué nos tenemos que interesar bastante sobre ese metal tóxico, ¿verdad? El plomo antes se utilizaba para que las pinturas, se añadía a las pinturas, para que la pintura se quedara en todas las paredes. Y como todo, ¿verdad? Cuando pasan los años, todo se va deteriorando naturalmente, ¿verdad? La pintura se ponía en las paredes, se pintaban las casas y todo, y eventualmente conforme los años van pasando, una ley natural es que todo lo que está arriba cae de regreso. Entonces cae al suelo y probablemente nosotros no lo miramos, pero los niños menores de 2 años son los que empiezan a gatear en casa, empiezan a gatear, sus manos se ponen en el piso, van recogiendo residuos de polvo y eventualmente se lo ponen en la boca, ¿verdad? Es lo que los niños hacen a esa edad, ponerse todo lo que alcanzan en la boca. Entonces, de esa manera es como ellos están ingiriendo el polvo de plomo en su sistema, ¿verdad? Y las consecuencias de ingerir plomo son irreversibles. Lo que quiere decir es de que cuando el plomo hace un daño, va a ser un daño que va a quedar en su cuerpo, ¿verdad? So, la prevención es lo más importante, ¿verdad? Y hay unas maneras de prevenir que una persona se envenene por medio del plomo, ¿verdad? Es fácil empezar a limpiar casa y que tengamos entendido que en lugar de barrer, tenemos que hacer todo mojado. Tenemos que contener el polvo con un trapeador que esté mojado porque si barremos, lo vamos a estar meneando el polvo de un lado a otro. Entonces, no es muy buena idea. Lo ideal sería trapear con un trapeador mojado y contener el plomo, ¿verdad? Sobre las mesas y todos los countertops y todo eso, agarrar una toalla mojada y contener también de esa manera. Lo ideal es tratar de limpiar el polvo en todas las áreas y observar cuáles sean los juguetes con que los niños pasan más tiempo. Estoy hablando de niños menores de 2 años porque son las personas que empiezan a ponerse todo en la boca, ¿verdad? Entonces es la manera como ellos adquieren todo, ¿verdad? Entonces al menos una vez por semana sería importante lavar todos los juguetes de los niños porque esa es la manera en que ellos van a contaminarse de plomo, ¿verdad? Esa sería una práctica simple y la razón por la que nosotros estamos hablando mucho de plomo es porque no se les olvide que el estado de New Hampshire es uno de los estados que tiene mayor problema de plomo. 1/3 de las casas fueron construidas antes de 1950. Nosotros poseemos muchas casas que son viejas y entonces con eso sabemos que las pinturas que utilizaron ellos también fueron utilizadas antes del 78, que fue cuando se prohibió utilizar plomo en todas las pinturas que se fueran a utilizar en casas, ¿verdad? Otra de las cosas que es bien importante es, como mencioné anteriormente, es hacerles la prueba de plomo a 1 y 2 años. El Departamento de Salud de Nashua los provee durante la clínica de inmunizaciones, ¿verdad? Que son martes de 4 a 7 y los viernes de 8:30 a 10:30 de la mañana. Estamos disponibles para conducir cualquier prueba a niños menores de 6 años. Otras personas que se tienen que proteger bastante del plomo serían las mujeres que están embarazadas, porque recuerden que hay otro niño creciendo en el vientre de la madre, se está formando y el plomo no sería muy buena idea. Hay un programa que la ciudad de Nashua también tiene, que el dinero viene de HUD, que ayuda a las personas que encuentren plomo en sus casas, ¿verdad? Pueden ir a la ciudad y está el programa de HUD, donde les pueden ayudar financieramente para remover el plomo de sus casas, ¿verdad? O sea que sí existen varios programas que tiene la ciudad para personas que están teniendo problemas con plomo. Y hay que mantener en mente que el cuerpo de los niños, igual que todos, cuando estamos pequeños, estamos creciendo, nuestros órganos se están formando. El plomo no tiene ningún uso que el cuerpo pueda utilizarlo. Y cuando está uno pequeño, pues el cuerpo confunde el plomo con otros metales, ¿verdad? Como el hierro, el calcio, el fósforo y otros metales. Entonces el cuerpo confunde el plomo con otros metales y no sabe qué hacer y lo empieza a guardar en sus huesos, donde empieza a hacer daño a los niños. Es importante que les hagan la prueba de plomo a todos los niños. Otra cuestión que mencionamos fue la importancia de lavarse las manos, tanto en niños como adultos. Estamos en la estación de la influenza, del flu, y es importante que todos se pongan la vacuna contra el flu. Así es de que, en resumido, solo les mencioné eso, traté de ser un poco breve, preciso y conciso, porque era mucha información cubrir en este segmento. Pero aquí está el Departamento de Salud para proveer cualquier servicio que ustedes tengan. Muchas gracias y buen día.
Thank you, Louis. Have a great week. This is the Public Health Hour. Patty Crooker.